Hi everybody, welcome back. This is our second poetry analysis video. At this point, you should have already watched and completed the assignments for Emily Dickinson's poem. Today we're going to work on Angels by Mary Oliver. And I have a copy of my poem here. I also have the copy of the poetry annotation and analysis guide. So I'm going to be using both of those, and if you're doing this with me, you should have them too. Quick note, it took me forever, like many hours to figure out how to upload the last video, so because it was so long and it was like this giant file. So I'm either going to try and keep these much shorter. I am going to try and keep these shorter. I might also stop and then upload a new one so I can upload them in smaller chunks, so if there's multiple videos, watch both. Okay. So, like I said, today we are working on Angels by Mary Oliver. So if you have a paper copy or the online copy of the guide, we want to start with the title of the poem and the publication date. This was published in 2014, so it's much newer and more recent than our last poem, which is over 100 years old. So go ahead and put those in that first box. And then begin with the reading preparation, where I'm going to have you do a little research on who Mary Oliver was. I'm going to go pretty quickly. I'm not going to give pauses, so if you need to stop to go do the assignment, just pause me and then come back. So Mary Oliver, I really love Mary Oliver. She's one of my favorite poets. I'm actually going to read you another one of her poems later on. That's one of my absolute favorites, and talk about why. I have a really great story for it. But one thing that I find interesting about her is that she went to college multiple times but never received a college degree, and yet she still won a Pulitzer Prize for her poetry. So she's very well known and respected, but doesn't have a college degree. So that's really cool. All right, we are moving right along here. So we're going to go through the same process that we did with the Emily Dickinson piece. So I'm going to begin by reading you her poem. It's called Angels. You might see an angel anytime and anywhere. Of course, you have to open your eyes to a kind of second level, but it's not really hard. The whole business of what's reality and what isn't has never been solved and probably never will be. So I don't care to be too definite about anything. I have lots of edges called perhaps and almost nothing you can call certainty. For myself, but not for other people. That's a place you just can't get into. Not entirely, anyway. Other people's heads. I'll just leave you with this. I don't care how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. It's enough to know that for some people they exist and that they dance. Okay, that's the first reading. So what you'll need to do next is go back through and put your plus signs and your minus signs on the poem around things that you liked, things that you didn't like. So let's take a moment and do that. Okay, I'll share a couple of mine. I really like the line where, I know this is backwards for you guys, so I apologize for that, but I really like the line in the middle where she uses perhaps and certainty as proper nouns. I think that it's a really cool way to take those ideas and make them more important, and put emphasis on them by like calling it perhaps and calling it certainty as if they're these like hard truths. I thought that was clever. I liked the line where she says, you can't, like, don't get into other people's heads, it's not worth it. I thought that was kind of funny. And then I love the last line that says, it's enough to know that for some people they exist and that they dance. I thought that was a really, really beautiful, really sweet way to end the poem. We'll talk about more of those later. I put my minus sign under, oops, I actually kind of messed it up here. The line that says, I don't care how many many angels can dance on the head of a pin. It's not that I don't like that line, but there's some background to it that is important for you to know. So I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, but it's kind of a common phrase, and I'm going to read something to you about it because it's may mean something outside of this poem. So it's actually very, very old and has been used in like kind of as a philosophical term and in philosophy over the past few hundred years, like hundreds of years. But in modern usage, it's used as a metaphor for wasting time debating topics of no practical value or questions whose answers hold no intellectual consequence, while more urgent concerns accumulate. So I kind of take that to mean like it doesn't, like to sit and debate how many angels can dance on the head of a pin is kind of a silly waste of time to debate something philosophical like that doesn't really matter, and that there are like more pressing philosophical questions to ask. So that's kind of like that's sort of what the term means, and it's sort of used generally. So I thought it would be important that you know that. So now at this point, I'd like you to go through and do your initial understanding of what the poem is about. So, you know, for me, what I take out of it on like a first read kind of superficial glance is that, you know, we don't really know all of the secrets of the universe. We don't like have clear, definite answers to philosophical life questions, but that's okay because we can still find joy and meaning and awe in everyday experiences that are not necessarily worth trying to understand, but are worth appreciating. So that's kind of my first level. I'm going to pause the video and start a new one now.